Thanks, Anthony. It's wonderful to be here with you and, of course, with Fiona, Christie and Michael Holland, Dr Michael Holland, who's Labor's candidate in the upcoming Bega by-election. Look, this is an important announcement and a necessary one for this community that's gone through so much over the last 2 years. It's been 2 years since the devastating bushfires came through the New South Wales South Coast. This was a key recommendation of the Royal Commission and the Commission of Inquiry into the bushfires in New South Wales, an emergency operations centre and an emergency operations precinct, so you can co-locate those first responders and also the leadership of those particularly important services and departments. So in times of crisis, they're in one location and they can make decisions quickly. As I said, this was a key recommendation of those inquiries. We believe it will save lives. It's been 1 year since the recommendation was handed down. We need to get on with it. Now, we acknowledge the New South Wales government's pledge of last week in the lead up to the by-election, but we believe this should be a precinct that includes the RFS, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, the SES and the leadership from police, and also telecommunications are very important in making sure that fireground first responders can talk with each other, whether it's for aerial support or extra resources on the ground. That's the recommendation from the Royal Commission. We need to crack on and get it done. So New South Wales Labor will pledge $20 million to get this project up and running, an emergency operations centre and an emergency operations precinct. It's one of the first things that Dr Michael Holland told me that this community needs when we spoke about him running for Labor in the upcoming by-election. It's something that needs to happen, and the by-election is a great opportunity to shine a spotlight on an important issue as we head into that vote on the 12th of February. A few other things happening in New South Wales at the moment. Firstly, I note that the New South Wales Premier said earlier today that rapid antigen tests won't be available for many schools on the first day back, which is listed as the 28th of January. Now, we need to get this right. The New South Wales teachers, parents and students have done the right thing over the last 2 years, ready and prepared to do what's required of them to get through this difficult period. But if the government says rapid antigen tests will be available, they need to make sure that that's done. We can't afford to have miscommunication or processes that fall down given the pandemic has really hit New South Wales hard. We don't want the mess of public hospitals to be repeated for public education. Kids have gone through such a difficult period over the last 2 years. So much is on the line at the moment. We need those rapid antigen tests distributed to New South Wales schools as soon as possible so parents can get their hands on it and we can get this process sorted out. Lastly, in relation to business support in New South Wales, I've spoken to Michael Holland, many people in regional New South Wales. This state is doing it very tough as a result of COVID hitting it. The Omicron pandemic has hit small and medium-sized businesses very hard. We still don't have an economic package announced by the New South Wales Premier, notwithstanding the fact that they've been in discussions with business groups since mid-December. We need to get on with it. New South Wales Treasury has told the Premier that the dire economic conditions will exist until at least March. And we know that for small and medium-sized businesses, 40% of them don't have enough turnover to keep their doors open for the next 3 months. You put that into the economic conditions in the state, where we know that it's the lowest level of consumer confidence since 1992. It all adds up to the New South Wales government fronting up and providing economic support for businesses in this state. They've done the right thing. They've listened to their own government's health advice. We don't want them to close their doors permanently because they've listened to the New South Wales government.